Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh. And I want to say Shalom to y'all knockout out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled, Peter Thiel, if that's how you pronounce his name, asked if the human race should survive. Peter Thiel asked if the human race should survive. And this is a video that is I've had from a while from Reddit. I guess this was initially posted to the interesting as fuck Reddit, as you can see down there. And I had it saved for a little bit. Didn't know if I want to do anything about it or just make a community post or what. And I was looking through my stuff today, see what I want to make a lesson on, and I saw it. And I, through the spirit and power of Yahweh I said, all right, let's go ahead and make a lesson on it. And so I got a couple scriptures here for it. I'm going to go ahead and it's a real short clip. So I'm going to go ahead and play it here. Just pretty straightforward, a 16-second clip. So here you go.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would,
this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive? It's, and only a person that, it's not a question that takes a whole lot of thought. It's either a yes or a no, It's either a yes or a no. That's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Okay? Back in the world, I would have told you no. No, the human race should not endure. Now, in this truth, they'll say, yeah, because I understand, what's going to happen in the future. But back in the day, I would have said no. And what you might ask, why would my reason for no? Is because all I saw was humans fucking everything up. So I said, the earth would probably be better off without humans. The animals would probably flourish. Everything would go back to a better state. And the world would probably heal without humans on here because we're a bunch of fucking assholes. Little did I realize it's just Esau that's fucking everything up. Really, at the end of the day. So, but, yeah, I would have been able to give you a straight answer back in the day. All right, I can give you a straight answer now. Should the human race endure? Yes, absolutely. So, but the right people have to be in rulership. So, this guy is stuttering and stumbling when it's pretty easy question to be answered. It's either yes or it's either no, and you give a quick summary as to why that is. If you said why? If you said yes, why? If you said no, why? That's it. That's all there is to it. But time and time again, we see these Edomites stumbling at these most basic questions because really they have ulterior motives and they have things that they want to say, but they can't say it, so they can't say them. But they want to say them, and they're thinking how they can't say them, but how they want to say them, so they use, that's what you end up getting out of it, right? When it should just be a yes or a no, okay? So, the comments here, somebody making a joke that the guy's a lizard, that's just bugged out. Says, success can erroneously convince people that they're smarter than they are. Success has erroneously convinced Thiel that he's smarter than you are. What else do we have? Peter, I'm a fucking ghoul, Thiel. Let's see. Sociopaths. It's true. It's interesting. I'm going to have to watch that. Says, this guy's reply made me think of the movie Mountainhead with Steve Carell. A bunch of billionaires are in a mansion on top of the mountain watching the world below them in chaos. They are deciding what level of chaos is allowable and how their technology would impact the little people. It was gross and maybe too real. It says that was the whole point of the movie, to get attention to what's happening right now. What else do we have? Rich people are just garbage, huh? Yeah, yep. Says, one thing I've taken away from interviews with Thiel is that I don't think he's really all that smart. He's not dumb, but I've never been blown away by his points or his intellect. It's true. It's true. It says the only billionaire I'm convinced that is actually intelligence is Gates, and even he seems like just above average, not like one in a lifetime intellect. I was gonna say the guy don't seem crazy smart to me, but you know, there you go. So yeah, man, you have these guys out there. Yeah, there you go. It says show the full answer instead of leaving it ambiguous. If he's really that strange, he can't yes. Then his full answer would show that anyway. Here it says after a pause he says yes, but I would like us to radically solve these problems. Sure. It says it was actually quite interesting to hear what he had to say, but unfortunately, It says, but unfortunately, yeah, it's just as bad. The presenter annoys me by interrupting, but listening to him try out to stumble out. This is basically what Peter Thiel said. It says, try to stumble out a half-baked, let's play God, and the Christians are all for it. It was painful. Says, granted, I sit on the other side of the fence where I think humanity's best form is a return to nature using technology to enhance. In my opinion, the future is in biotech, but working with nature to enhance the world rather than eliminating it completely. This guy says he's the definition of a techno-fascist. So, yeah, this guy, and they say that, well, I wouldn't eradicate humanity, but I would severely change the way it would be. Yeah, you're right, to a new world order, right? That's what you want. Of course, you wouldn't eradicate it because then you wouldn't have any servants. You wouldn't want it, you wouldn't want that. You want people to rule over. So, of course, you'd have to have servants. So, what you want is you want everybody to own nothing, all right, and rent it from you, and be told what they can do from you, and know where they are at all times, too, because you're scary as well, right? You don't want any of these people getting out of line and showing up your house. You need to be able to track them and know where they are at all times. So that's all part of this New World Order agenda, right? That's what they want. That's what they're looking for. And that's where anytime, a normal question gets brought up, these guys, stumbling around and can't give you a straight, yes or no, right? A normal person would be able to give you a straight or no. They can't. So, so Peter Thiel, apparently he's from this company, Palantir, and I guess they're a software company that develops data analysis or analytics programs or platforms, primarily for government and commercial clients. So I guess it says the company's also been expanding into AI-driven analytics. So you see it. Different stuff. Different stuff. None of it good. None of it's good. I guess they've been around since like 2003, 2004. Right there, 2003. So, messing around, government shit, just government shit. Software company, data analytics for the government. So, you know how it is. But, I wanted to grab a couple scriptures here, and like I said, this lesson's probably not going to be too long, just off the nature of it. But I wanted to get a couple scriptures here. And like I said, this is kind of impromptu. Usually it would be a longer lesson, but when I get through some of these, there's usually only a couple points I want to make about it, and then just, especially when it's something that I've been, like, leaving, I'm like, what do I want to do a short video? Do I want to do a, post it as by itself as a short, or do I want to, link to it as a community post, or do I want to just, delete it and not do anything with it at all? So sometimes I make a short video. A lot of time it's longer topics is usually something that I can go in longer on. I'm sure there's ways you could, extend this out and go on different things, but the scriptures that I have here are pretty straightforward, and one of those scriptures is Ecclesiastes 14:7, and when I was putting this together, I was really pondering, and this is the one that kept coming into my head, and this is Ecclesiastes 14:7. I'm going to read it, and then I'll talk about it. It reads, "And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness." All right, this is dealing with Esau, Edom, the wicked. All right, the wicked. And you might say, oh, well, that's not talking about, with different scriptures or any scripture. You might say, that doesn't mention Esau, that mentions the wicked or the devil. Well, they are the wicked, they are the devil. You got to realize the devil is a man. There's the devil, and then there's a spiritual demon, Satan. Okay, there is a difference. Okay, Esau is not the spiritual demon, Satan. The spiritual demon, Satan, is not Esau, Edom, although he does, in a way, mess with them in their mind. And that's all through Yahweh Meow Shai, but they're not the same person. Okay, Lucifer. When you hear Lucifer, you think of, again, Satan, the devil. They're different people. And Lucifer is it means light bearer, morning star, essentially. That you'll see it, but it means light bearer is what it means, and it's referring to a man. Okay, it's not referring to a spiritual demon. Okay, as i.e. Satan. It's not dealing with Satan. Now, sometimes in the Bible, Satan is referred to as the devil. All right, but and I believe that there's even a couple references to where it really all. And again, this is why you got to go back into the original language. Okay, because even for a word like fornication, there's at least two. There's pornos or there's porneia. Okay. So there's a couple different words it could be, okay? Just like there's different words for mark. You have people say, oh, it's dealing with a mark, a spiritual mark. No. All right, for example, Revelation 13 and 16 is not a spiritual mark. Okay, that's a physical mark. All right, a thing engraved, the charagma. All right, that goes back to the word karax. But there's other words that are talking about the seal that's put upon, the elect. All right, and that's a spiritual mark, a spiritual seal. Spiritual seal. Okay, so again, that's why you say, English is good enough for me. Well, that means you're not getting the original. You're not getting the Hebrew. You're not getting the original Hebrew, which is the Paleo Hebrew, let alone the modern Hebrew, and you're not getting the Greek. And that's where the Bible is translated from. So if you don't want to get that, you're not a bunch of intellectuals over there. I wouldn't consider myself the smartest guy in the world. None of us are going to brag about how smart we are and, oh, we're just the smartest guys in the world. But the difference is the proof is in the pudding, buddy. All right, that's how it works. All right, if you can't go and get the words, all right, that shows a lack of intelligence through the route of laziness. Okay, you don't even care enough to get the knowledge. All right, which would just make you stupid. All right, you don't even want to learn what a word means. And a lot of the words, you got to realize the Bible's a very old book. It's a very, very old book. So some of these words have changed meaning over time. You got to realize, and I got to be careful with this. How do I want to say it? The word, the other word for immunization starts with a V, ends with an E, has seen in the middle of it, right? With an axe, een. All right, put a V on that. That definition changed in a span of a couple years. Okay, through 2019 through about 2023, that word changed what it meant like fucking 2 or 3 different times. Because originally it meant something that prevented. Then it means it boosts, and then I don't even know what it means now. You can go look it up if you want to see it now. But all you got to do is go look up 80s dictionary, or go anywhere. Go to the thrift store and find a dictionary from the anywhere, right? From the any the 90s and back. All right, you could even get it from 2010. After about 2010, shit started getting too woke. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend after that. Really, I'd recommend a dictionary before 2005. Okay, you're still good in 2005, probably 06, 07, but a good round number, right? Get 2005 on back, all right? And where you really want them is from the 90s through the 70s, all right? Really even better, 60s through the 80s are probably the best. 60s through the 80s are probably the best. And just pick up a dictionary. You can probably get it for a couple bucks. I don't ever think about it. I don't go to a lot of thrift stores anymore. But if I did, that's something I'd probably think about getting is getting a dictionary, because the new ones, they've changed so many definitions. They've changed so many words. And kind of going on a tangent here. I'm going to get back on topic. But, like I always mention the word mischief. All right? If you look up the word mischief, I'll go and do it for you. Or mischievous. Okay? It says of a person, animal, causing or showing a fondness or causing trouble in a playful way. All right? A playful way. But that's not what it means biblically. Now, they do have an older definition here. Okay? Which means causing or intended to cause harm or trouble. Okay? And really what the word mischievous or mischievous or mischief, it goes back to wicked. All right? It means wicked. So there's an example where you'd have to get, either some etymology, which is going into the old languages, or you'd have to get the old languages. So, but if you don't want to do that, then that's showing that's a sign of your stupidity. All right, you might be smart in other ways, but when it comes to this truth, you got to be smart in what you got to be smart in. All right, which is circumspection. All right, praying, faith, a willingness to learn. All right, a willingness to do the work, a willingness to go and look out a definition. All right. If there's a word, anything, no matter, there's sometimes, I'm sure people have probably fried me in their mind, right? Well, why is he defining that word? What's such a word like unwilling, right? Or wicked, or declare? Because you'd be surprised with how much edification and understanding you can get just off a definition. You think you know what declare means. Oh, it means you're going to declare something. It means you're going to, let everybody know something or put a law or an order into place. But when you go and look up declare, and I'll do it just for the sake of doing it. You can go and see declare, to say something in a solemn and emphatic manner. What does emphatic mean? Giving emphasis, expressing something forcibly and clearly. So there you go. Slack you. Safari. Some perfume or something. But, yeah, man. So, you can get a lot of edification out of just looking some words up. So, really, lessons within lessons. All right? Don't be lazy. If there's a word, you'd be surprised how much edification you can get out of it. All right? Words like even declare, unwilling, or wickedness. You'd be surprised you can get a lot of edification out of going into those words, man. And that's one thing, when you learn from GMS like I do, that's the one thing they teach their ministry and their brothers, all right? And is that, look, you got to understand the words, all right? And also history. You got to understand the history and understand the mystery. It's another thing you hear. But you got to be able to know what those words mean. If you don't know what the word means, if I tell you that there's a fire on top of the warehouse and you need to go and get some water to put it out, grab a bucket, and you don't know what fire is, you don't know what a warehouse is, or water, or a bucket, of course most people are going to know what those are, then, you're not going to understand it. You're not going to understand it. So you need to know what those words mean. If I went up to somebody that only spoke Spanish and I said, you need to go and there's a fire, you need to get the water, get a bucket and put the water on, there's a fire in the warehouse, they're going to look at me like they don't know any of those words. You want to know why? Because they don't know any of those words. Right? Or, example, people that are learning English, they might get confused on words, so what do? They go and look them up. What does this word mean? Or you'll hear them ask, how do you say it? They'll say, oh, how do you say, the little thing? You're like, oh, that's a bucket. They're like, oh, a bucket, okay, a bucket. And that's a little thing you put water in, a bucket, okay. So they understand the words, but you're over here just spouting stuff off, not understanding, all right, saying mark. Oh, it's talking about a spiritual mark. You didn't ever think about going in Revelation 13 and 16 and going in and getting in the Strong's Greek. Because if you did that, you would be able to find out that it is not a spiritual mark. It is a physical mark. Okay? So, right there, man. It's lessons within lessons, of course, as GMS always says. It's to understand. You got to learn. How does it go? To learn, you have to have intelligence. Wait. So, it's hard to explain. So, intelligence is your storage, right? Think about it on your phone, your intelligence. That is your capacity to be able to learn, is intelligence. If you're not intelligent, if you're not intelligent, if you don't have intelligence, mixing up two different words I'm trying to use. If you have no intelligence, then you're not intelligent. If you're not intelligent, you have no intelligence. And that's your capacity. Think about it as your storage space on your phone or your Xbox, all right? You've got 128 gigs, all right? Some people only got one. Some people got 1 gig. Some motherfuckers only got a couple megabytes, all right, which is not very much storage space at all. That's floppy disks level, right? So, and then some people have terabytes, which is thousands of gigabytes, okay? Thousands of gigabytes, you know? For example, look at Apostle Dahar. That man has terabytes, petabytes even, of capacity to learn. Okay, there's some people, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong or the Lord ain't dealing with you if you ain't necessarily as intelligent. I don't consider myself the most intelligent man in the world. All right, and a lot of the brothers are more intelligent than I am. All right, but we all have a form of intelligence. Okay, through this truth. All right, because Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai ain't dealing with just straight up dumbasses. Right? But there's going to be people that have more, mental aptitude, all right, quick-wittedness than others. So, but, what was I saying? Intelligence is your storage drive. That's how much you can, right? Knowledge is information, okay? So I have to have intelligence, all right, to process information, knowledge. Knowledge is, so you have information. Knowledge is when I tell you that Revelation 13 and 16 is talking about a physical mark, all right, the RFID, the mark of the beast, all right, it's not talking about a spiritual mark, okay, that's the knowledge. Now, you can put that into your brain as intelligence, and if you can perceive that and know what I mean, then that turns into, goes from knowledge, knowledge into understanding. Okay, now you have understanding. So you have intelligence, knowledge, understanding. Okay, so intelligence is how much you can hold. Knowledge is that item that's being told to you. Understanding is you understanding and filing that away, all right, into your mind. And then lastly but not least, so it's wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and intelligence. And then the last one, of course, I already mentioned, I already gave it away, is wisdom. Wisdom is the capacity to be able to recall that knowledge, that understanding, and use it and utilize it. That's using wisdom. Wisdom is learning, is using the things learned. Okay? If you have intelligence and someone tells you something, now you know it, you can understand it, all right? And in the future, you can use your wisdom to reuse that item, all right? I'm going to use my wisdom. I know that guy died when he was walking on this side of the street because this side of the street has a light issue. So I'm not going to walk on this side of the street. I'm going to walk on the other side of the street. That's intelligence. That's knowledge that he was told. That's understanding of why he shouldn't go over there. And wisdom, recalling it to do it again. So that's all your forms of intelligence there. All right, all your forms of wisdom, knowledge, understanding. That overall makes up your what people would just call smarts. Okay, they would just call it your smarts. So you need all that capacity in this truth. All right, got a little off the topic here. All right, but you know how it is with these late night lessons. I usually get a little rambly, but you have to have all of those different things, man, or you're not going to be smart. And if you're not smart, well, you're not going to be able to get the scriptures because, like I said, the Lord's not dealing with a dumbass. So going back into it, you have to get those words. You have to get that understanding because if you don't have those words and you don't have that understanding, there's going to be some words that, well, this isn't talking about Esau. This is talking about the wicked. Well, then again, that also goes back to having the Holy Spirit. There's another thing. Out in the world, you can have knowledge, understanding, and spiritual wisdom, and worldly wisdom, but it's different level when it's a spiritual level. Okay? So you have to have the spiritual knowledge and spiritual wisdom and understanding to be able to understand, right? I.e. understanding, to be able to grab the scripture and say, okay, when it's talking about the wicked, who is the wicked? It's talking about the wicked. Well, we got a couple different hints. All right. Mainly, the big thing is that the earth is given in the hand of the wicked. All right. Is one of the main ones. That's the easiest one for people to see. Right. They say, okay, well, the earth is given in the hand of the wicked. So whoever's in rulership right now must be the wicked. Who's in wicked? But that one leaves way for filibustering and stonewalling and bush hiding, all right, and jumping into a bush. I hope they don't know. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You know damn well who's on the money. Who's mostly, well, they have Zimbabwe. I'm not talking about Zimbabwe. I'm talking about in the biggest nations and the ones with all the money. Who is on the fucking money? All right, think about it. England, who's on the money? White people. America, who's on the money? White people. All right, you can keep going on. Europe, all of Europe, white people. Okay, white people. So. And that's really who it is. And who has the most control of the power? Who is everybody watching at the end of the day? Everyone's watching the United States, okay? Which is ruled by white people, okay? So that's and they try to filibuster and get their way out of it. So the other one is that is talking about, Esau, Edom, when they're called the border of wickedness. They shall be called the border of wickedness, okay? Look, and that's how you know the truth's going out, because who else would be looking at border of wickedness? It's all these brothers searching all the time. It's getting in Google's, it's getting into mine. Malachi 1 and 4, which all of this Malachi on down is a Malachi, well, at least the 4 is all talking about Esau. So 1 and 4, it says, whereas Edom saith, and Edom, just like Jacob's name was later changed to Israel, Esau's name was later changed to Edom. All right, but he didn't wrestle an angel, okay? Says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. The people against whom the Lord will have indignation forever. Not just anybody. They are the people. So they are the one person that the Lord will absolutely have. Oh, sorry. They're the one people that the Lord will absolutely have no mercy upon. At all. Okay? None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. None. So, and the Lord's going to have indignation against them forever. Forever. Because of their wickedness. Stuff like this. Not being able to answer if the human race should survive or not. It's a pretty straightforward question, man. If you don't know if the human race should survive or not, that shows a lot about what type of shit you're plotting about, or your apathy. And I doubt it's apathy. It's usually wickedness. Okay? So, usually wickedness. You have some people that will say the human race shouldn't survive in a do-good way. Like I said, like the way I was thinking wasn't, I'm going to do evil, or we all know everybody needs to die. I was only thinking about it in a good light for the animals, man. Because a lot of time, I value animals more than human beings. Because, a lot of us do these days. It shows you how fucking horrible human beings have gotten. Okay? Animals are actually, can have innocence. Humans, there's no innocence. There's no innocence with animals. Or humans. And unfortunately, the animals are even being corrupted now. So, they're not even in their right state. But yeah, man, it's pretty easy to answer. Should human race survive? No. If not, why not? Yes. If so, why so? Okay? Like I said, and I subscribe to the idea before this truth that no, humans should not survive because they've done nothing but hurt the earth. They've done nothing but hurt the environment. And I was like, it's probably just time for us to all go away. Right? But, no, now I'm like, okay, now I get it. The reason why the Earth's out of balance is because of Esau. Makes sense. Fucking things up. We're moving things from the environment. Dumping chemicals in there. Pumping shit in the air. No wonder why everything's all crazy and out of order. And then all that and the propaganda and the people are acting all crazy because of Esau. Because of Esau. Okay? And his little fucking games. So, and perfect segue. And he's never going to do anything good. He's never done anything good in his life. And if he ever did, well, Psalms 10 and 5, his ways are always grievous. Well, slacky, wrong scripture. But Psalms 10 and 5, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth them. The scripture I was referencing is in the next one. All right, talking about if he does any good. But right here shows you that he doesn't do any good because it says his ways are always grievous. And here's an example where we get the definition. All right, prepare for some Star Wars. All right, there he is. Right, General Grievous. Ridiculous. But it's crazy how that's the only thing that comes up with when you look up the word grievous. But it's the definition we're looking for, not for the robot. So grievous, it means of something bad, very severe, serious. Serious, severe, grave, bad, critical, dreadful, terrible. So his ways are always terrible. They're always dreadful. They're always bad. Okay, they're never good. All right, and it says, as for all his enemies, he puffeth them. Puffing at someone is when you blow air. When you go, psh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right? That's puffing. That's puffing at someone. All right, you're puffing at someone. So this guy, his ways are always grievous. They're not good. They're always bad. They're always bad. They're always terrible. They're always very severe. They're always the worst option. Okay, and we can get a precept for that. We're right over here in Proverbs 4 and 16. Come on now. Proverbs 4 and 16 reads, "For they sleep not, except they have done mischief." Actually, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm tired as hell. Slocky, I guess we already opened up with it, Ecclesiastes 14:7. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly. Why do I not remember? It could just because I'm fucking drained at the end of the day, but I'm gonna read it again. Guess I did. But Ecclesiastes, yeah, okay, now I remember reading it, now that I'm here and looking at it in front of me, but anyway, I'm going to read it again, because it's great scripture. Ecclesiastes 14:7, "And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness." So again, had to get it again because, these guys are incapable of good. All right, his ways are always grievous. All right, those go hand in hand, and that goes hand in hand with Proverbs 4 and 16. They all go hand in hand, showing you what type of devil this guy is. Proverbs 4 and 16, "For they sleep not, except they have done mischief." Remember how I told you that word mischief? Well, we don't have to get it again because here it is. Now, does it mean playful? All right, does it mean, just a little, he gave you, put a firecracker on the toilet seat, or not a firecracker, because that could actually blow your ass cheek off, but a poppet, all right, those poppets, all right, or, you gave him a hand buzzer, or, you walked into a flammable area with one of those fake cigarettes, or you put a piece of fake dog poop on the ground, or a fake vomit, that fake vomit you throw it somewhere, right? So that's, what they would consider mischief. But mischief is wickedness. It's evil, something very severe and evil and terrible. All right? It means wicked, literally. So Proverbs 4 and 16 again, "For they sleep not, except they have done mischief." Wickedness. They cannot sleep unless they've done wickedness. It says, "And their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall." Bill, we really just need to do something bad. I'm having trouble sleeping. Right? Meanwhile, Jake, they, drink a little something, watch a little show, do what they have to do. Esau, they have to go and do something bad, right? Esau has to go and do something bad. Or they just lose their mind. They can't get any sleep. Like I said, their sleep is taken away unless they cause something to fall. They won't be able to sleep unless they're doing something evil. They just have to do it, right? So that's just how this devil is, man. And I mentioned it, and we're closing out with it, because that's the one thing people try to deny. No, look, the earth is getting... Whoever is in rulership right now is the wicked, okay? That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Whoever is in rulership right now is the wicked that the Bible speaks of. The wicked, all right? The wicked. All right, and the border, that's referring to the wicked, the border of wickedness. So they would be the people that the Lord is having indignation against forever. So whoever's in rulership, the Lord has indignation against forever and is deemed the wicked. So who is that? Is it black people, so-called? No. Is it the Indians, all right, over there in India? No. What about the Hamites? What about the Moabites? Okay, the Asians over there, right? Is it any of them? No. So, and I know it's not any of the other tribes, all right, of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans. So who does that leave? It leaves the so-called white man. So, and when you find that out, really, once you start finding out scriptures, everything plays in, and there's really no deniability. You don't even have plausible deniability, because it's not plausible what you're saying. All right, if you read your Bible, I read the Bible. No, you don't, because if you did, you would see what it talks about Esau. ChatGPT, even the other day, I just had it on ChatGPT. It'll try to filibuster a bit, but when you go to way through the Bible, purely scriptural, who fits more as being Esau? They always say it's a so-called white man. Okay? They never say it's Jacob. They always say it fits more kin to the so-called white man today. All right? But the greed, the colonization. So, hey, man, again, like I said earlier, the proof is in the pudding. All right? You can't lie. Can't lie. You're going to find out what it is. Okay? And when you read the scriptures through Yahweh Shem Yahushua and you have the Holy Spirit dealing with you, it's ever so clear who this devil is. Once you keep going through the chapters, once you keep going through the chapters, like, that's the white man. All right? He covet fields and takes them by violence. That's a white man. All right? Sought to paint his likeness. All right? Within, the book. Right? That's a white man. All right? They can be any color. Well, really, they really want it to be white. But now the thing is any color but black. Lord can be purple, green, yellow, but he can't be black. That's the one color he can't be. Can't be black. Why not? You know why. It's all a bunch of white supremacy at the end of the day. So, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces as a judge thereof. If not, where and who is he? So, again, who's the earth given in the hand to? These wicked. So what are the wicked going to do? Wicked things. Why are they going to do wicked things? Because they're the wicked. That's what the wicked do. Wicked things. So all these people, Peter Thiel, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, fucking Bill Gates, there's more people. They're all into sorts of crazy shit, whether it's eugenics, all right, a mass culling of people, population. Population control, cutting down on those numbers. That's all they care about. Those are the things that they're doing. And, that's what they do. And even the small hats like Netanyahu. If we wanted genocide, we could have it done in an afternoon. That's not the right answer. Not the right answer to be had. Right? So, that's where we're going to close out. Like I said, I'd say it's a little shorter of a lesson. I don't know necessarily how long we went. Probably at least 30 minutes, maybe 25, 30 minutes. But Lord, what was edifying. Slack again for the rambling at when it's late. I tend to get a little rambly, so slack for that. Lord, what was edifying. Lord willing, it was edifying nonetheless. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep it and keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.